The topic: 9 incredible money habits for doctors to establish ASAP. This all came from a book I read actually many years ago now called The Power of Habit. And when I read this book, it was so simple and straightforward to create these new routines or keystone habits as they call them, that I thought, why don't we use something similar to this to add into our financial lives? So what we're going to walk through in this video are 4 keystone habits and then 5 money principles to help support those habits. So all in all, you're going to have 9 fantastic habits, principles, combination of both, to build around. And from that point forward, hopefully that continues to build almost an automation process for your financial life by building a strong foundation there. So stay tuned. That is all coming up next. All right, the first keystone habit. So remember, the keystone habits are going to be really the main building blocks. They should always be a part of your financial plan. And the first one is one that we talk about quite a bit, and it's going to be the emergency fund. And I will say one of the beauties of this video, but also the blog post that we really are building this off of for the video, is there's no technical jargon in this video here. We're really going to use, hopefully, a lot of terms you've heard, maybe add a little bit of context to them. But the first one, again, the first keystone money habit is building that emergency fund. And the emergency fund can take a lot of different shapes and forms for many people. If you're just getting started, it might be smaller with goals to get higher. We always kind of set a line in the sand around $20,000. Most of our clients will end up wanting a little bit more just for their own peace of mind. And that's where I say personal finance is more personal than it is finance. We have some clients that like to have 6 figures of cash. And as long as it's not going to affect their long-term plan, essentially losing opportunity costs in there, we're okay with that. So the emergency fund can take a lot of shapes and form. For our clients, because we're traditionally working with Gen X and Gen Y, usually we'll use a hybrid approach. We're having a certain amount in actual cash, but then also having a certain amount in an investable account, say a taxable account or a joint investment account, where we're going to use a lower risk allocation. So we try to split the difference there, where some may have just everything in cash, some may have some all in an accessible investment account. But the first keystone money habit is you have to not only know what you want your emergency fund to be, but to also make sure it's fully funded or working towards having it fully funded. So keystone habit number 1, the emergency fund. Keystone habit number 2, keep bad debt at 0. I know, sometimes easier said than done. And I put the term bad debt in there because I don't want you to think that this is me saying, hey, go pay off your mortgage tomorrow. Throw every penny you're making towards your student loans. We understand that there are moving parts that come with life. So for the most part, when we say bad debt, I always say it's credit card debt, maybe bad personal loans, or maybe even questionable car debt. If you just finished up your training and you had to go get the Porsche, maybe it fits in your financial plan, maybe it doesn't. But where we get most concerned with cars is people will go buy a car and then they finance it over 7 years now. Probably not an ideal situation, but the easiest things to tackle are always going to be credit card debt, personal loans. We're trying to always keep them at 0, and don't think you have to do this by tomorrow. Hopefully most of you are in a spot where this already holds true, but if you're not, you got to get a plan in place, right? Start to tackle the credit card debt. Start to tackle the personal loan. Finance 101 says you go after the highest interest rate first. These are kind of the 2 different debt snowballs you can look at. Go after the highest interest rate first. That usually makes the most sense on paper because it's the highest interest rate. Or we have seen many almost do more or less the personal side of it, where they say, I know this isn't my highest rate, but it's the smallest balance, and I feel like I can get this paid off soon, and it's going to give me good momentum. I can get this paid off, and then I'll go to the next. Get that paid off, and then go to the next, even if they're not following it by the interest rate. I don't really care which route you choose, but make sure that you are having a plan in place to tackle that bad debt. So keystone habit number 2, get rid of the bad debt. Keystone habit number 3, put your savings on autopilot. Sounds very simple, but I cannot tell you how many of our newer clients, like in that first year of working together, are just so happy on how many things are automated. 401k is maxed out. 403b is maxed out, all through their pay stub, automated. Backdoor Roth IRAs, maxed out at the start of every year. they're saving X dollars per month to their joint investment account or their taxable investment account. All of this is happening without them even having to think about it. And it's one of those where we jump on a review meeting and it's that pleasant surprise. Oh, I didn't even realize I had that much amount in that amount of money already in that account. So the main thing here is just setting up good habits and then automate them. Remove emotion, remove the thinking. And while I'm referring to investments, this can be simple things even inside of your cash reserve, right? I'll put a plug in here for Ally Bank. Ally Bank, you can automate the different buckets inside of their savings accounts. So you could put, $1,000 into your home down payment, $1,000 into your vacation fund goal. You can start to automate those savings. So no matter what you're saving for, whether it's short-term goals from a cash perspective, or if it's long-term retirement or financial independence goals or a vacation home down the road, whatever the case may be, automate, automate, automate. So Keystone habit number 3, automate your savings. Keystone habit number 4, track your cash flow. We get it. We know that budgeting is not a favorite buzzword for many. Now, some do enjoy it. They love getting into the details. We're most don't. So when I use this as Keystone habit number 4, I don't think this needs to be done as often as some may fear. This could be a once per year. This could be a once per every 6 months. But you should always know what is coming in and what is going out. Sometimes it's just as simple. Have a list of what is already on a subscription, right? All right, we got Hulu, we got Netflix, we got Disney Plus, we got ESPN Plus, we got the dog toys that come, we got the shampoo that arrive. You can pretty much have anything on a subscription today, right? Just even knowing what's going on there, right? Walk through there and see, is there anything that doesn't match up? But at a minimum, you should always know what is coming in, what is going out. And again, I know budgeting is not a favorite topic for many. Unfortunately, for most of our clients, we're in a spot where we can kind of tell the money where to go at the top of the budget, and then we don't have to micromanage the bottom of the budget. But that does not mean it should be neglected. It should still be reviewed from time to time, and more importantly, are you on track, right? If you tell me you spend $6,000 per month on groceries, childcare, those things, well, that means that you should be hitting your other goals, right? You should be saving X to your joint account, your 403B should be maxed out, your 457B should be maxed out. But if that's not matching up, maybe something is not right. Maybe it's more than $6,000 in that budget, and that's where we might have to dig into the weeds. But at a minimum, at least once per year, maybe semi-annually, maybe quarterly. Maybe you love budgeting. Do it monthly. Knock yourself out. But at a bare minimum, at least once per year, you should know where the cash flow is going, when it's coming in and when it's going out. So Keystone habit number 4, track your cash flow. All right, let's pivot. Let's call it our new 5 underlying money principles. So habits are pretty much probably applied to everybody. The next 5 are going to be ones that I want you to make sure that they apply to you. So to jump into things, the first principle we have is tax refunds aren't good. Now, I will put one note here. If you absolutely love tax refunds, like you look forward to it every year, you know that pays for the family trip, it's literally almost a part of your financial plan. Don't let me be the one to ruin your fun. That's just your personal preference. And if you were a client of ours, we would just pivot to know that. Here's why we don't think tax refunds are great. You essentially overpaid your taxes throughout the entire year, which likely could have been fixed probably with a quick W-4 adjustment. You gave it to the government. Uncle Sam says almost a full year later, again, obviously you're making kind of little incremental payments to your tax bill throughout the year, and then they give you your money back at a 0% interest rate. So let's just say for easy math, you had $6,000 refund. Fantastic, right? Wow, I got $6,000 back. What am I going to do with all this money? But what if we said, what if we got that to 0? Like, right away, you nailed it, right? We got it to 0. We work with your accountant, we get this down to 0. And I said, instead of $6,000 in April, what if we gave you an extra $500 per month? And then you put that $500 per month towards your Roth IRA, your joint account. Maybe it helped build up your travel fund, right? I would vote that you want the money. The power of money is, what's the word I'm looking for here? Money is more powerful in your hands sooner than later. Because you control that, right? You could put that, heck, you could go put it in your savings account at Ally Bank and at least get a 0.5% compared to where the government held it the whole time and gave you nothing. So key thing here is tax refunds are not great. In a perfect world, I say the sweet spot is either you pay in up to $1,000 or you get a refund up to $1,000. Kind of my sweet spot there, like $1,000 either way. But with any good accountant, and even a good financial planner, you're going to be able to fine tune that. You're going to be able to look through your W-4, make adjustments here and there. Usually it's just a W-4 tweak. So principle number one, tax refunds aren't great. But if you love them, I get it. I would just try to start to push you away from them. But again, personal preference here. So money habit number one, money principle number one, I should say, is tax refunds are not the best. Money principle number two, my favorite account, the Roth. The Roth can come in many forms. We just want you utilizing it in some way, shape, or form. Now, I usually try not to date my videos because we want them to be more evergreen, but I can tell you that as I'm recording this video, we don't know if we're going to have backdoor Roth IRAs or if we're going to lose backdoor Roth IRAs. It's currently right around the end of 2021 as I'm recording this. Either way, we want you to take advantage of Roths. If we have the backdoor Roth IRA going forward, that is a fantastic tool to get money into Roths. Maybe we lose that. Then you might have a conversation. Do you try to get some in through your 401k, 403b? I would argue, at least for our clients working with physicians, high income, high tax rates, I'm probably still leaning towards pre-tax there, but only time will tell once we know exactly what we're working with. But keep in mind, even later in life, one of our favorite strategies with our baby boomer clients are Roth conversions, taking pre-tax dollars and converting it to their Roth in those lower tax years, from the time they retire until the time that they're forced to pull money out at age 72 for those RMDs. So the main takeaway is look to take advantage of a Roth in some way, shape, or form. If we have backdoor Roth IRAs, I can almost say as a broad stroke of the brush, everyone should have access to a Roth. That likely makes a lot of sense. If we lose backdoor Roth IRAs, there it might be a little bit harder depending on where you stand, but no matter what, you should be looking into, can you utilize a Roth and what is the best way to do it? We love the Roth. As I said to start this principle here, the Roth is my favorite account. So money principle number two, utilize the Roth. Money principle number three, don't be scared of stocks. I will say that I feel like this has improved, at least over the last 10 years that I've been doing this. Earlier on, I felt like Gen X, Gen Y, so again, the clients that we speak to the most, were a little bit scared of stocks. Now we've had a pretty good 10-year mark here, so now everyone's high-fiving when the stock market goes up essentially for 10 years. But before that, I think for our generation, a lot of our horror stories came in because our parents talked about, 2000, 2009, and these moments where their 401k was cut in half or even more than that. And we're sitting here as individuals where our brains are still forming on financial planning and investments on, my goodness, that sounds horrible. I don't want to lose half my money. No one wants to lose half their money. Whole point being here is don't be scared of stocks. Depending on where you are in the spectrum, and even our baby boomer clients, our complete retirees, we have clients in their 80s, where we still have a good amount of stocks in there because stocks are a good inflation hedge. Now, the whole portfolio is not in it. We build around that. We build in different buckets. We build in different allocations. But the whole point being is stocks deserve a spot in your overall portfolio, probably for all of us. I'm pretty comfortable saying that. Certain situations, maybe not, but for the most part, you can make a pretty broad stroke there. And just always know your time frames, right? The stock market, when you give it more than 10 years, you have pretty good odds on your side that it should end up higher. Less than 10 years, it can get a little bit iffy. You can have a little bit of back and forth there. So when we always are referring to like long-term retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, 437bs, backdoor Roth IRAs, solo case, SEP IRAs, you plug in any long-term retirement account, stocks should be a part of that, and likely, hopefully, a big part of that. Now, when you get into like, hey, I need this money in 2 years, well, that should probably be in cash. Hey, I might need this money in the next 5 years or so. Well, then maybe we have a mix of stocks and bonds. So money principle number three, don't be scared of stocks. they should be a part of your portfolio in some way, shape, or form. Work with your financial advisor, work through a risk tolerance, understand, even go back to how you reacted. How did you react during the worst part of the COVID downturn? How long have you been investing? How did you react in early 2009 before the market finally rebounded? What did you do in 2000? Going through that and see how you reacted is probably your best risk tolerance. There's a lot of great tools out there to find out your risk tolerance, but I would say it's probably much more important to actually talk through that and actually see, what did you do? Did you not turn on the TV? Did you not touch a thing? Did you pull everything out and hide it in your mattress? That's more telling than any risk tolerance. So money principle number 3, don't be scared of stocks. Money principle number 4, reserve your retirement funds for, retirement. And this is pretty straightforward, but this is more or less to any of you that ever thought, I'll just take a loan out of my 403b. I'll take a loan out of my 401k. Listen, I get it. Life happens. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. I know my own personal life. Things happen, right? Some crazy things can happen in life that are completely unforeseen, both good and bad. And I know life can come at you fast. But ideally, this is where, one, in that example there, emergency fund is vital. Emergency fund is vital. Even a taxable account that is more risk averse, right? A more 50-50 mix. These are our first 2 buckets that we should have 2 hurdles in place before we ever look to retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, Roth IRAs. We want to leave those undisturbed. We want compounding interest to do its thing, set it on the back burner, let it simmer. We'll circle back in about 10 to 20, 30 years, depending on where you are. So money principle number 4 will be our shortest, but I hope it's very straightforward in the idea of leave your retirement funds alone. Let them do their thing. Let the magic of compounded interest go to work for you. Money principle number 5, don't pretend you're invincible. Again, our clientele, for the most part, Gen X, Gen Y. Gen X, starting to get some gray hair in there. They get it a little bit more. Gen Y, us millennials, that is where we sometimes see this more often than not. Although I will say with physicians, I think because we know the importance of, especially disability insurance, our earning potential, it's not that concerning. But the main goals here are understand that disability insurance is extremely important. As a physician, your biggest asset, more than likely, depending on where you are, if you're a baby boomer physician, maybe not anymore because you don't have as many working years left and you probably accumulated a good amount of assets. But if you're a 1 to 10 year attending, maybe even further than that, still your largest asset is you. The ability to wake up every morning and go to work. And if anyone would ever take that away from you, whether that's an illness, an injury, anything, that's going to be a substantial effect on your long-term financial plan. So disability insurance, vital. Life insurance. This is one where when we speak at different hospitals, it's not crazy to tell a young physician that you probably need somewhere between $3 to $5 million of life insurance. Now, it depends. If you're single on your own, probably not. If you're married, important. Plug in a young family, not even important. Now it's essentially vital. But $3 to $5 million of term life insurance, very low cost, assuming, especially if your health is good, that is not a crazy bar to set. So don't pretend you're invincible. Understand that crazy things happen. I'm actually amazed by how many times I talk to our clients or we're presenting and they always have a crazy story, right? Their one colleague that had this crazy event. The colleague that was, got diabetes during their training from stress and now they're almost uninsurable. They had some type of injury or illness or disease that may now not allow them to get insured or maybe never work in medicine again. Luckily, for the most part, those seem to be very far and few between, but still, we know that. We know those things can happen. And sometimes they're not that crazy. Maybe it's just an injury that keeps you out of work for a few years, but we're not invincible. Crazy things happen. So money principle number 5, don't pretend you're invincible. All right, and there you have it. 9 little tidbits. I guess we got 4 habits in there, 5 principles in there, 9 great pieces of information for you to think through and continue to build your financial life around. As always, I thank you for tuning in. If you have not done so, click the subscribe button. or you can even just click the like button. Like button goes a long way for us too, but like button gives us a shout out on this video. Subscribe tells us you want to see more, and if you want to get crazy with us, click the little bell icon. That'll give you a notification every time we send a new video. As I always say, my goal here is to get our videos in front of as many physicians as possible to help them in their journey to financial independence, because unfortunately, we know you are not taught enough of this throughout your long studies. So we are here to help, and YouTube is our platform. So as always, thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next video.